All right, let's talk about something that seems to be drastically different. This time out of Deadline. This is our very first topic, and it's going to be a good one. This by Ted Johnson out of Deadline yet again. Ron DeSantis calls Disney lawsuit political. Again, hammers company in opposition to Don't Say Gay law. Now, you'll notice that that name for that law that's given in Deadline is actually a propaganda title. And just like we would not use the title for the law that is assumed by those that rhymes with brooms, let's say, broomers, we would not use that title because that is also a propaganda title, simply because both of those titles are coming from different ends of the political spectrum. It's the parental rights and education legislation. That's what it really is. When you see that thrown into the title, it goes ahead and tells you, hey, this is going to be a biased article. And so Ted Johnson elects with the headline to be biased. Who knows? Maybe Deadline editors selected the title, but it has some, it gives you some pause. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis slammed the Walt Disney Company's lawsuit over his effort to strip the company of authority over its sprawling Walt Disney World property. DeSantis called the litigation without merit and political, while defending his moves against the Mouse House as merely putting the company on an equal playing field with other theme parks and resorts. Giving a company its own government, that is not what a free market is all about, DeSantis said during a visit to Jerusalem. In fact, they've been treated much different than Universal, SeaWorld, and all these other places. And so they're upset because they actually have to live by the same rules as everybody else. They don't want to have to pay the same taxes as everybody else, and they want to be able to control things without proper oversight. Disney filed suit on Wednesday against the governor and his appointees to a special district board that oversees the company's Florida property. Disney claims that the governor's moves against the company were retaliation for Disney's opposition to a parental rights bill last year, known that way by detractors. This would be a fair article, by the way, if it listed the title of the bill by those who are strong proponents of it. It does not. As proof, Disney's lawsuit included numerous statements that the governor made after signing legislation that ended the company's control of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, the 55-year-old special district that covers the property. I don't think the suit has merit, DeSantis said. I think it's political. I think they filed in Tallahassee for a reason, because they're trying to generate some district court decision, but we're very confident on the law. The days of putting one company on a pedestal with no accountability are over in the state of Florida. I also want to go to another site in just a moment. We're going to go to that Park Place and take a look at what one of our authors had to say about it. Before we do, let's get some comments on this Deadline article, and in particular, what I want to bring up to you guys and let you discuss. I find this interesting. It's an interesting strategy that Disney has decided to go with. They are electing to say that because the Reedy Creek Improvement District has been dissolved, and it truly has been, it's dissolved now, it no longer exists. Because that occurred, then that is retaliation against Disney because of their free speech or their political whims, desires, speech, etc. Now, the issue I take with this, and not an issue as in I'm morally or ethically or legally confused by Disney, rather from a strategic standpoint, this is confusing to me why Disney would do it unless they're demonstrating some degree of incompetency by farming this work out. But by claiming that this is directly against Disney, the only way that I can see that being valid and accepted in a court of law is if Disney proposes that they and the Reedy Creek Improvement District are one and the same. But the problem with declaring that they are one and the same with the Reedy Creek Improvement District is that then Disney has been operating a government, and that was never supposed to happen. And therefore, Disney would be liable for everything that government has done, including bonds, including decisions, including legal and otherwise decisions that they have made. It opens Disney up to a huge set of issues. And that's a risk that I don't understand why the company wants to take, especially given that I'm thinking probably a court is going to look at this and say, well, now, wait a minute. The Reedy Creek Improvement District is a district that is controlled by two cities, supposedly, the city of Bay Lake and the city of Lake Buena Vista. How is it that you are Reedy Creek Improvement District? And then, well, that opens an entire can of worms because it's like, oh, yeah, well, we control these two pseudo-cities. They're actually single cul-de-sac mobile home parks that we put in, put whoever we want in those mobile homes in order to vote exactly the way we want. I mean, it just opens a huge, huge can of worms. So, guys, what do you think about this opening salvo that Disney is attempting, where they want to de facto declare that they were actually the government down there? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what Iger said was going to happen at the shareholders meeting.
Yep.
But why do it? Why open yourself
he
up to this kind of scrutiny?
He outlined the case pretty much to Josh's point here. He outlined the entire case that they were going to use in court with that shareholders meeting call, that response to that caller that was asking about the state of the Reedy Creek Improvement District and so forth. So it's really, really interesting. I think their case, I haven't read the entire 77-page filing. I've read a lot of it, but not all of it. I believe what they're trying to argue is that because the RCD was let's say replaced by the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, and that their board members are targeting Disney specifically as part of those official proceedings. I think that's the angle that they're trying to actually go.
So then they're not claiming. Okay, so help me understand, because I want to know this as well as I can.
Mm-hmm.
They're not claiming then that the dissolution of Reedy Creek Improvement District is part of the retaliation. Is that what we're saying? But it's specifically the board members that have been selected?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, I think that is the case that they are making, which is why I believe board members are actually placed as defendants in the case along with the governor.
Okay, well, that's interesting, because if that is the case, and I don't know that yet, by the way, I'll be appearing later tonight on the legal mindset, and that's what's going to be redirected tonight. That's very unusual.
Good.
Usually we go to Midnight's Edge after dark, but we'll redirect just this evening to legal mindset, where we're going to be discussing this at length. Andrew of Legal Mindset is actually an attorney who specializes in special districts in Florida. But that's very interesting what you say, because, and this gets into the political arena, but we have to go there. If Disney is claiming that they're being retaliated against based on the selection of board members, and John, I want to get your thoughts on this, then Disney would essentially be saying that they have the prerogative to set forth parameters by which a governor may select controlling directors over a special district. That is bizarre, John.
I don't really feel comfortable commenting on this, because I really don't understand a lot of the Reedy Creek stuff, and I haven't looked at I have the lawsuit up here with me, but I haven't looked at it at all. So I don't know. I don't really have any it's hard for me to comment.
Speaking of generality, then, and from a general perspective, do you think that Disney, if they are unsuccessful, does this have any additional negative impact on the company in terms of the way that Florida treats them? Or do you think that why not? Maybe there are a lot of people who say, well, why not? Throw the pixie dust Hail Mary, right? I mean, you're going to lose the government down there one way or the other. If you've got a 1% chance, throw the football deep and see what happens. So which way do you think this is going?
I mean, I think it can. I mean, I think it definitely hurts probably their brand perception within the public, and kind of shows where they're truly standing and where they are, where their actual values are. Because this is kind of all over them coming out and opposing a bill that was passed that stops teaching of gender identity and sexual orientation in kindergarten and third grade. So them coming out and doing all of this, I think, just kind of shows that they're continuing to double down on all of this. Kind of shows what their corporate culture is like, what their company is like. That's really how I look at this, is that they're going to fight tooth and nail for this, as they've promised that they were going to do, and they're going to do it any way they can, and they're going to use any means that they possibly can. So I think it's just more Disney digging its own grave, in my opinion.
All right, well, let's take a look at this article from thatparkplace.com coming out today, April 27th. Ron DeSantis says Disney suit is political, but does Disney even have standing? And it says, there's just one problem with Disney's suit. Reedy Creek isn't supposed to be synonymous with Disney World at all. And then it gives the quote out of Deadline. But it goes into some information about Reedy Creek Improvement District, how it was established in 1967. It was supposed to be a special district that was controlled by two real cities. And for those of you who are historians of Disney, you may recall that Epcot Center was originally supposed to be the experimental prototype city of tomorrow, and it was supposed to be a real city. And what that morphed into after the death of Walt Disney was, in fact, Disney manipulating what the Florida politicians had given to the theme park resort, the mega resort, using those two cities to sort of become pseudo-fake cities, whereby the company that could then control a governmental power the size of Manhattan. And then What happened after that, of course, is that Disney was flush with cash, bringing in money like crazy into Florida. And so for decades, the state of Florida completely ignored what was going on. So we'll read this paragraph here. Now, with the company seeking to ostensibly claim that it is being targeted when Reedy Creek is targeted, the implication may be that Disney was one and the same as the government. That would open the company up to huge issues related to the running of two fake cities in Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista. Those were supposed to be real cities with real working governments. Instead, they are two single-road mobile home parks that Disney fully controls in order to maintain government powers without having actual citizens controlling the governments. And you may say, well, now, Pro, it's got to be all above board. Disney would never do anything that would cause them to be in sort of, some sort of legal jeopardy. Okay, well, I'm not sure I would grant that. But anyway, folks, we have looked at these mobile home parks before on this show. We've shown them in Google Earth. We're not going to do it in this show. We've done it before. It's not impressive. But the thing about this is that Disney doesn't even have a permanent citizen structure. They're all modular homes that can be easily removed, and they're hidden away out of clear sight. And to further point out that Disney has sort of manipulated the way that all this was set up originally, when Disney decided to add subdivisions with real people in real homes that really stay there for a really long time, they decided also to redraw the district boundaries so that those people would no longer be included in Reedy Creek and therefore would not have voting power to be able to impact Disney World. Truly, Reedy Creek Improvement District, as it was simply a government power given by the state of Florida to the Walt Disney Company that granted them immense competitive advantage over everybody else. And now that competitive advantage is gone. So any other thoughts, guys, before we end up this topic?
So you're saying pretty much Disney has a Manhattan-sized tent city. And
yes, it's like the Vatican City if it was all double wides.
Yes. I mean, I think the core of this is really interesting because you have Disney saying, well, we were targeted. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's kind of like saying, let's say you're mowing a lawn, right? And you have that lawnmower set on the let's say you have it set on a 2-inch setting. And it's all the grass is 1 inch high, but then there's one blade of grass that's 3 inches. And you're running over with the lawnmower, and it's like, I was targeted. And it's like, yeah, but you're the only one that high, right? In this way, Disney was the only one that actually had a special district with this amount of power attached to it. And like you said, bro, going over the history of it, that's very applicable in this situation because it was all about setting up a experimental prototype community of tomorrow. When that didn't actually happen in the way that it was envisioned, not the theme park, but the actual progress city, let's say, that they had that they were going to pursue, then this arrangement that the Tallahassee had with the RCID and Disney should have been readdressed, because if it's the Reedy Creek Improvement District, the district is improved. That has happened now. And so I think, I take a little bit of a nuanced approach to this. It's like, Disney had a critical advantage at a time when they were developing 27,000 acres
40 square miles.
Of swampland out. Yeah.
Dropped down to 37 square miles after they annexed the subdivisions that would have given actual citizens power over their area.
Correct. Celebration. So it's like, okay, I understand you require some power to actually facilitate that. Do you need all of that power? No, but they were going to be setting up a city. Well, when that didn't happen, and it's now 50 years later, it's like, okay, well, we need to readdress this. So even though the pretext is controversial, this was coming down the pike no matter what. Now, I will say with this lawsuit, they filed in the Northern District of Florida, if I'm not mistaken, and they were assigned U.S. District Judge Mark Walker, which I'm sure you'll get into with Legal Mindset there, but I just want to say they went judge shopping. They got a favorable judge. If this case is litigated and they decide one way or another, just understand, folks, this will be litigated further than that. But that's right.
It's going to go up to a point where it's not favorable, and it's not even certain that they can gain standing to file the lawsuit. I mean, this really is at this point a true Hail Mary, and we'll see how this goes. I can only imagine that the other companies in Florida, as they watched Disney do this, Universal Studios had been attempting to get a special district status for a very long time.
Indeed.
SeaWorld would love to have this sort of special district status that Disney has. And so for a long time, they've been arguing, why does Disney get to have this advantage? And I can only imagine that those companies, which did not weigh into this highly divisive political issue, I can only imagine that as they watched Disney do that, they all had the same reaction.
Can I get Musha? Good Lord! Name of all that's sacred?
Feeling that I've got a feeling that that Disney was doing the thing that nobody else wanted to, which was cutting off their own appendages.